Welcome to Movies to Fall Asleep To. I'm your host, Tristan Miller, and I don't sleep so good. That's why I'm turning to the best of the best, some of my favorite people, to talk about their comfort movies, in the hopes that maybe, just maybe, I'll get a little shut-eye. And I hope it helps you get some rest too. So close those eyes and open those ears and drift off while we talk about our favorite movies. Today I'm joined by comedian Keegan Thomas, who has chosen Sing Street as his movie to fall asleep to. How you doing, Keegan?
I am great. Feeling good.
Mm.
Yeah, very, very excited, very happy to talk about one of my favorite movies, and just in my opinion, criminally underrated.
I agree. Yeah, it's an incredible picture. I was watching it. I rewatched it for this yesterday with my family, and we'd all seen it before, but we were all just marveling about how good it is when it clearly um, has just such a small budget and it's so well deployed and the story's good, all the characters are interesting. It just doesn't miss at all. It's a great movie.
I agree, because it's just easily it's so such a simple, easy movie that I feel like anyone can kind of relate to. Yeah, tiny budget, indie actors that you've barely seen in movies before, maybe
Mm-hmm.
some faces you recognize, but it just like so simple and yet works and has such a great impact.
Yeah, for sure. I know part of the appeal for my family and is that the fact that it's set in Ireland, and it's a kind of
Mm.
like a pseudo exotic locale for us in the States. Did you also feel that way? I mean, obviously you're not
So
from
I've
Ireland, you're from New Zealand, but like, does
I'm
that
not from
stir?
Ireland, from New
Yeah,
Zealand.
yeah, yeah.
My family is so I have like Irish roots.
Mm,
But like I was born in New Zealand, and my mother on my mother's side, they're from Liverpool, which they have
mm.
heavy ties to Ireland as well. But it was the tie to it. I can't remember. Yeah, I'm just a sucker for like kind of like independent British made
Mm-hmm.
movies, just like either Ireland, Scotland, like England. They seem to like just have these like low budget movies come out every few years that are just like really good and like
Yeah,
better than anything else.
yeah. I assume it has to do with the fact that they actually fund their arts as opposed to,
Yeah, oh,
here in the States, it's like, well,
it's it's getting it's getting rough over here as well. It's just
yeah.
we don't know where the money's gone.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I've been reading up, and I'm concerned for y'all, and I hope it the art situation seems a bit dire. But
It'll be okay.
yeah, it'll sort itself out, I reckon. But what I actually
I hope.
what I guess I kind of meant by that is like whenever a film is not set in the United States, everyone kind of goes crazy over here for it. Do you feel? I mean, I would assume there's really good New Zealand cinema. But
Mm.
do you feel that way as well? Do you feel thrilled when you look at another location and get to fall into that sort of world?
I love, yeah, because with New Zealand we're lucky to get maybe one to two New Zealand movies a year, I'd
Mm,
say, and
mm.
like a really good like classic one, like one that like people like love in this country and like talk about. It's maybe like every 5 years.
Mm.
Because like I can't I off the top of my head I don't know if I've seen any. Oh, there's a recent movie in New Zealand which it kind of has similar vibes to this. I feel I haven't seen it yet. It's called Uproar,
Yeah,
and
it
it's
looks
got
great.
like yeah, so it's got Reese Darby, Julian Dennison in it. So like I was like, okay,
Hmm.
that's one that I think people went out to see. But yeah, so with mo like foreign movies, we always have like film festivals come over here. I think the British and Irish film festivals are currently on right now. But like we it's always yeah, because it's always like the big American movies and like with all the indies, they come out throughout the year, but we get them all around the same time because Oscar season's ramping up.
Sure, yeah, yeah. That
So
makes
like
sense.
say for instance like just thinking of like or like a big like so one of like La La Land, which actually came out the
Hmm.
same year as Sing Street. That movie was like all over America and around the world, like in the middle of 2016, but we only got it in like December 2016,
Oh, really?
like just as the award season was ramping up. So
Huh.
it was like it was a bit weird, like seeing like hearing so much about this movie, it being like, oh, it's like, oh, La La Land, big, it's going to be the Oscar movie. Everyone's going to win for it. It's amazing, like 90% of Rotten Tomatoes, and then it's just like, cool, I can't watch it yet. Like
That's
we either we either have to illegally download it or wait for hopefully one cinema to do it. Because
mm.
like, yeah, with some of those kind of movies, like not every cinema in New Zealand plays them. Like only there's some local cinemas that aren't even playing that new Killers of the Flower Moon movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Oh,
only
wow.
the big places are playing that, which I think is weird. It's a
Yeah,
weird
that is a
decision.
bit odd. I saw it recently. Definitely recommend. Definitely recommend it.
I need to see it. I need to see
Lily
that because
Gladstone is phenomenal in it. She's so good.
yeah, I've heard because all my friends just want to see Five Nights at Freddy's, but I don't want to see that. I want to see a good movie.
Oh, that's fair. I couldn't bring myself to watch Five Night at Frederick's. I couldn't do it. But we're not here to talk about Five Nights at Freddy's. We're here to
No,
talk about Sing
we're here to talk
Street.
about good movies.
Good movies like Sing Street. Um, when did you first see this movie? You said it came out in 2016. Was it in the cinema?
Yeah, so it started. I think the way that it works in when movies come to New Zealand, I'm not sure if it's the same for Australia, but it might be. So if like a movie starts like earning quite a bit of money, the distributors will use that to bring it to like our country.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember it came out. I think this was like not late 2016, but like maybe September or October, and like it had been out already, and I'd seen like a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of reviews on it, YouTube videos and stuff, and it was actually my ex-girlfriend at the time. She went to see it, and I was like, I don't know anything about this movie. I'm not that keen. And she came back from it and said, "You need to go see this. It's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. It's so good. Like everything about it's great." And I was like, "All right." And then my mum is a big movie fan, so I was like, "Do you want to go see this?" And she was like, "Oh, actually, yeah, I've seen that, like the reviews and stuff like that." Where New Zealand, we're very heavy on if the reviews are good, we go see the random movie.
Okay.
But we did, yeah. So she was like, okay, and then we went to see it at a cinema that now no longer exists in Wellington. It got knocked down. We went to see it,
Mm.
and I just remember first minute, just there's a scene where he's just playing his guitar while his parents are fighting in the next room, and I just remember this, it's it, and then the whole movie just absolutely loving it,
Yeah. It
crazy loving it.
yeah, it's really good. It's really well orchestrated like that. Yeah. I saw it, I think, at IFC in New York when it came out, and it was me, my
Oh
sibling,
yeah,
and a now defunct friend. And it was one of the rare movies that we all agreed, yes, this one is gold. It's so good. It was,
I've not met a person who doesn't like this movie yet, but I feel
oh
like if
yeah,
they do dislike it, then they're not a good person.
yeah, it's an immediate red
Because like
flag. Yeah.
it's one of those. It's just so it's yeah. It's got to be my favorite like feel good, just feel good inside movie.
Well, yeah. To that end, what makes it a comfort watch, and how many times have you seen it?
I've seen it probably because I actually so this is how much I love this movie. I have it here on Blu-ray disc. This is how much I love this movie. As soon as
Phenomenal.
it was coming out, as soon as it was coming out on Blu-ray, I was like, I have to snatch that.
Rated
So
M
good.
for
I think
mature.
rated M for mature. There's offensive language, and it's got featuring all the music by the amazing bands and the director who's directed other great
Are
movies as
there
well. But I
special
think
features on that?
there's the making of. then
Nice.
there's a couple of featurettes, and there's the auditions of like the kids, which I think is great
Excellent.
because I think
So
if
good.
whoever was watching, if you haven't seen this movie, I think the only there's the out of all the children, the main person you'll know is Lucy Boynton, who was
Mm.
in Bohemian Rhapsody. This was her first big movie,
Oh, okay.
like first movie to take off. This was hers because I remember when she got cast in Bohemian Rhapsody, I was like, I that sings that's her. So I was like,
Hmm.
okay, it's
Hmm.
here we go. But I think I've watched this. I've it's definitely like a few times a year I've watched this movie.
Yeah.
It's just one of those. It's just one of those movies that you can just put on, and it can be in the background if you want, or you can fully pay attention to it. But it's just because of the story, the music, the ease about it all. It's just so comforting, and it has such a lovely, I don't know, lovely story, lovely message, especially at the end.
Yeah.
I really enjoy.
For sure. Yeah, I'm 100% on that. What's also really I found lovely is like I also funny that you brought up Killers of the Flower Moon as well. I found myself in that film and this film being so transported in the situation and the story in a way that doesn't often happen a lot in a lot of movies that I see these days. Where like with Flower Moon, I was like went to the bathroom and I was like confused that I wasn't in, the early 1900s. I was like just like blatantly like what is happening? What do you mean
Yeah.
we're not in Oklahoma? But with this as well, like I remember in the theater and then even watching it yesterday, I very much was like, oh, this is such a different time and place from my given circumstances that everything else kind of just fades away. And I think that's a testament to the comfort and the comfortability it eases you into it because it's not like, there's basically I find, I don't wonder if you'll agree about this. There's basically two kinds of movies. There's a movie that grabs you and goes, look at this, isn't this spectacular? I'm going to force you to
Mm.
interact with it. Or there's something more like this, which kind of eases you into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can't. I think you just the I think the former you just described every Marvel movie.
That
But
was what I was thinking about. Yeah.
it's just,
Oh
but
boy.
yeah, yeah, because this movie, yeah, for me, like I've always like, you have like you look back and you have the nostalgia of the like 70s and 80s with the different music and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Stranger Things really tapped into the 80s and stuff, but this is like a time where like I don't know much about like
Oh yeah.
Ireland in the 70s. And like Ireland has always been and has been in like tumultuous like periods with all this stuff. It's 1980s, sorry, not the 70s, 1980s. I thought it was the 70s for some reason. But
Mm.
like 1980s Ireland, and it's very, I think the vibe is like it's very realistic. Like it's
Yeah.
not, it's definitely written from because I absolutely love the small indie movies where you watch them and you go, this is someone's
Mm.
experience, this is someone's childhood, and they've made it to this fantastic story.
Hmm. Hmm. So would you say that the story elements are what make it so rewatchable? Before you said kind of the message of it. What spoke to the like what speaks
It's
to you about the message of the film?
well, so I absolutely I absolutely love the plot of the movie, which is
Sure.
the easiest thing ever.
Oh
It's
yeah.
the girl meets boy, girl is unimpressed by boy, so boy starts a band.
Classic.
That's it. That's all you need to know about the movie. And if you're not like if like you can easily be like, oh, okay, whatever, but like that's all you need to know and you'll have a great time. But like the ending of the movie being that these two like just kids are like, I want to get out of my crappy situation and I want to go and live my dreams. I want to like live. I don't want to stay here. I want to go out there, go be
Hmm.
fantastic out there, be a model, be a musician with all my songs. Like that just it just lifts you up. I remember because
Hmm.
the ending of the movie, they're in the tiny boat and they're going to England. And I
Hmm.
remember my mum watched it. She was like, I love the entire movie, but the ending was a bit silly. They're going to drown. And I was like, don't ruin this for me. Don't ruin this for me. It's such a beautiful incredible ending, and they're gonna go and like because it lifts you up. It's like they're gonna go live their dreams. Oh my God, like what? Like I want to do that. Oh, let's yeah do that. It's just very uplifting kind of
Hmm.
movie because there's a lot of and I feel yeah I don't know that sometimes you just need those kind of like very realistic movies to have a certain fantasy ending.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because there's a lot of like with in a lot of indies, the endings are very bleak
Yeah.
or open to interpretation kind of thing, which this one is open to interpretation, but it's very uplifting in the sense that like they
Hmm.
might not make it, but who knows? They might do it.
Yeah, no matter whether or not they make it all the way to jolly old England, they certainly have freed themselves from their circumstances, which is, what
Exactly.
they all want. Yeah, I think that's beautiful. I guess we might want to talk a little bit about the plot of the film, but you kind of summarized it quite well. Is a boy meets a girl and wants to impress her, and he starts a
Yeah.
band, and there's turmoil, and then they eventually end up together, but kind of not really, and then we'll see. They go off to
It's
England.
and it's just it just holds a testament that we're because one problem I have with a lot of like music based movies, it's
Hmm.
mainly like the musical biopics, which I'm not the biggest fan of, is that you won't see the complete progression of a band. You won't see them
Yeah,
go
yeah,
from
yeah.
the beginning of it, they'll have maybe a montage or something, and then you're like, okay, cool. They're now great. Like they're now amazing. But with
Yeah.
this band, it like they start off and they're not great because they've all just come together and they don't know what sound they want to have. And then they keep going and you see them practice and you see them like hang out with one another, know who they are. They make different songs. They listen to different genres. He's constantly changing his look to be like
Hmm.
The Cure or Bowie or Duran Duran. But and then like at the end when they have the big when they play at the school disco, which is just like the songs in that are just so good. You're just
Hmm.
like, okay, like you can tell they're not the greatest band, like their songs aren't the greatest thing ever, but they're just like it's really like just the progression. You're just like they've done this, they've worked hard, they're making great music.
Yeah, yeah. I very much agree, and that was something I spoke with my folks about when we were watching it because it does feel like what is such a strong part of the film is that even in that first song, you're like, it's not great, but it's not terrible. Like it's good.
Mm,
They are off to a good start. They should keep doing this because sometimes with a band, you're
yeah,
like, oh boy, you should just don't
yeah.
just. What did you think of the brother character? How do you feel about him?
I thought he was great. He was definitely what they like needed
Hmm.
because so the only so for I can't remember I can't remember the name of the actor.
Hmm.
Hang on, let's see if it's on here. Oh yeah, Jack Cranor. The
Hmm.
only movie that I'd seen him in was Transformers 4, and he was absolutely terrible in that. He had the Romeo and Juliet clause crap with his underage girlfriend, and
Oh,
I was
that's
like,
him?
yeah, it's him. That's him.
Oh no. Oh
And
no.
so yep, yep. So when this movie came out and I saw him in it and he's really good in it, I was like, oh, thank God, man, because you need to get your career back on track after that shit.
I didn't
It's
realize he
like,
was that character. Oh
yeah,
man. Yeah,
that, yes.
I think he's quite good. I think the character's quite strong as well. I think he's that great monologue about like I paved a path for you to be able to do this. I'm the way I am because our parents weren't ready to have kids. And I think that's
Yeah.
something that's like really inferred in a lot of sibling relationships. So it's kind of nice to see it, textualized on the screen. It's very cathartic,
Yeah.
you know.
He's just what he kind of is what the main character, the main boy really needs. Because like
Hmm.
he is obviously he's the music expert and like I think most families can attest to like the older sibling having like the cooler music
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
taste and you're like, oh, I want to listen to my older siblings. listening to, but just the way that
Yeah.
he's got the great line where he's like, rock and roll is a risk. You gotta risk being like stupid. I think that's not the line, but it's something like
Hmm.
that. And I'm just
Hmm.
like, I'm like, that's like that's what the kid needs to hear. And it's when they do the first song,
Hmm.
they do Rio by Duran Duran, and it sounds awful. And he like opens a window and he like hoses it out because he's like, this is awful. Because like usually if you showed it to a parent or if you showed it to like an older person, like a regular older person, they'd be like, oh yeah, this is great. This is keep it up. But he's like, you need to be better. Do
Yeah.
your original stuff, and that sends them on a better path. So I think he's a very realistic character. He does have the moment where he's like, yeah, I paved the way. Like I like had to go through all this, and I'm never going to be that. And he wants the better life for his brother, which I'm like,
Yeah. It's
nice.
it's very beautiful. It's lovely. I think that moment where he airs it out is so funny. The guy, I can't remember the name you just told me, but he's very good with the comedic elements in this as well.
Mm,
And I feel like I would love to know, I'd love to talk to him to see if he is an older brother or if he just has an older brother and like was able to fill up
yeah,
because it almost feels like a younger brother playing an older. Does that make sense? Like playing the brother
yeah,
that they
no,
always
yeah,
wanted, you know? But
yeah. I
yeah,
feel that because yeah, could be true. Yeah,
yeah.
the definitely the passion to like be better than maybe yeah be either be better than what
Hmm.
their older brother was or that they
Hmm.
never had that. Yeah, no, I can see that.
Yeah, it's definitely like it's just such a strong characterization. All the actors are so strong in what they're bringing, which is really quite rare when it comes to like actors that age as well. You're casting very young people, and they're all just a fantastic job. Even the guy that plays that gobshite bully, that like he's
Yeah,
so good as well.
I, it's gotta be in it like because I feel like yeah, there's so many movies where the kid actors are just not good and they surround. I'm mainly thinking of Harry Potter where they surround them with these amazing thespians to make them look a lot better. But
Yeah,
it's got to
yeah.
be like it's the magic has like the directors just probably was so good with the kids and like got
Mm-hmm.
them kind of like working together and like being friends kind of thing because that's how you make it work. But yeah, they all just seem to be like on it.
Mm-hmm. What would you say your favorite song out of the movie is that they play?
Like the scene where it's so the I really like I just love how funny Rhythm of a Model is the first song that they make
Yeah, yeah, it's
because
quite
it's
good.
just so weird and crazy in the music video and they're all dressed like weird as hell. I love that. But like the main so Drive It Like You Stole It, like
Yeah.
that that song, that whole scene where it's like the fantasy. I was like, oh, this is so good. It was 100% robbed of an Oscar by fucking La La Land because La La Land got
Oh,
nominated
it's
twice when they could have squeezed it because the Golden Globes nominated it
as
and
well
they
they
could
should
have
have.
squeezed just one space in for Drive It Like You Stole It by Sing Street. And I know I was on like forums at the time and they were like, what the hell? I was on like Reddit and they were like, what the fuck?
As well they should be. And I'll say this, I had the best experience possible watching La La Land, which is I was visiting LA for the first time. And
Oh,
my friend Chelsea, she took me to see it in this beautiful cinema that had been around for 100 years or whatever, and where I'm seeing places we had just seen, and it was like a wonderful experience, but still not a good movie. So it's like that's the best.
I I don't know what it is about La La Land because like when I first saw it, so when I first
Mm-mm.
saw it, I was in a real so I just gone through a really bad breakup
Oh yeah.
and I went to see it with my parents, and it was a great escapism movie. I was in the
Hmm.
cinema and I was happy and I was feeling good. And then as soon as I left the cinema, I was like, "Oh, fucking kill me!" But like, so when it first came out, I remember seeing it maybe a couple of times in the cinema, and I was like, "This is amazing." And then when it won all the Oscars, I was like, "Absolutely!" But it was, and then I've watched it over time. But me and my partner now watched it after we saw Barbie
Oh yeah.
because like we were like, oh, we've seen Barbie. Now let's there's another Ryan Gosling movie where he sings. Let's
Yeah,
have
yeah.
fun watching La La Land. And I'm gonna be honest with you, it's so long. It's
Yeah, I know.
it's not even that long a movie, but it just feels so long.
It feels long. It feels it's crazy because La La Land feels longer than like the extended edition of Two Towers. You're just like, what are
Yeah,
you doing, man? It like I remember
it's
fidgeting in the cinema so much. Ugh. Like
I
I'll say
just yeah,
this.
I just
Good. No, go ahead.
I just remember watching. I watched it and I was like, like the a lot of songs are great, like in City of Stars, and I like
Mhm.
the part, but like there's just some parts of that movie that I'm just like, just cut that.
Yeah,
I don't know what you're gonna
absolutely.
do, just cut it.
Just tip it. I
Just
mean,
you're right
yeah,
there.
yeah. For me, I mean, like, it's not. It's here's the. Okay, I should say this. It's a so I don't perjure myself in court later on if they arrest me for having this opinion. Um, it's a well executed film. Everyone does their job
Yes,
well. I do not enjoy the film. That is what I will say.
I I I think that's a common consensus with a lot of people. When it first like this always happens every year. A movie comes out and it is considered it's so good. It's an amazing
Mm,
movie. Hell yes. Thank you for releasing this movie. And then as time goes by, there are the people who are like, this is overrated.
mhm,
And then you go, why are you saying that now? Because of all the Oscar buzz it's getting. But there are the people who are like, this is actually overrated, and here is why. And you're like, oh
mhm,
shit, you are correct. Because like I mean, it's been the same with Parasite and
mm,
Everything Everywhere All at Once. When they
mm.
came out, they were masterpieces, and then when they got to the Oscar buzz, people started being like, they're overrated, and you'd be like, why? And then they wouldn't give you a reason. But with La La Land, there are plenty of reasons.
Yeah, 100%. I was gonna say I don't think I've heard anyone say Parasite's overrated. It's quite good. Everything Everywhere All at Once. The only thing I would say to that is it's still an action movie, but I think that's nice that an
Oh
action
yeah,
movie won Best Picture. That's so rare.
I
Like
like it.
let
I
us
do
all
like
have
it
that.
when like weird stuff can like get into the Oscars and like just kind of tip it on its head because like
Yeah.
I don't I it was like when I was so glad when like Bohemian Rhapsody didn't win Best Oscar
Mhm.
or like actually I had beef with Shape of Water winning Best Picture.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was the same year as Get Out. I think Get Out
Mm,
to me deserved Best Picture.
I could see that. I think that
Yeah,
was mostly we're sorry, Guillermo, for not giving it to you for Pan's Labyrinth kind of thing.
100%.
There's
No,
a lot
because
of
that's like
politics.
best.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Get Out's
it always
great.
happens that yeah this Oscars they always screw it up and then they have to give it to them for a lesser like award,
So
like
it's like,
a lesser role.
yeah, looking at you, Keen, for getting Joker. I mean, it's a good performance. I enjoyed the film, but like, what are we doing here, guys? Like, that was,
That was
I'm gonna do a bit of stand-up material at you if you don't mind. But
go
the
ahead.
year that came out, I had my hair quite long, and the whole year, everyone's like, "You know who you look like?"
Oh no.
And I was like, "It's not a compliment." They're like, "How do you take being told you look like a really handsome person at their physical worst?" You know, like he
Oh
doesn't look good
no.
in that movie specifically. It was really brutal,
No.
honestly. But have you have you fallen asleep to this movie?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I think it was during a time definitely in the so when New Zealand had we had two lockdowns.
Hmm.
So yeah, so the way like my ADHD works is if I don't do any like proper stuff throughout the day, my brain will just like refuse to go to sleep. So I'll be
Hmm.
up to like the hours, like 4 a.m. So I put this movie on, and I like say to my brain, like I really want to finish this movie. I'm gonna finish this movie tonight. And then my brain, of course, goes, nah, no, you're not. So I'd like often like fall asleep to it. But it's definitely just like a movie that I just chuck on and then just like sit and like enjoy it. But also I can like I've seen it so many times enough that I can like go on my phone or I can do things in the background kind of vibe. So I definitely have fallen asleep on the couch to this movie.
Excellent, excellent. Would you recommend to fall asleep to this film? Would you think it's a good? I mean, clearly you do it, but would you recommend it out of all the like?
I recommend if you haven't seen if you're seeing it for the first time, it will you will not fall asleep unless you were like dead tired because I get
Sure,
you'll be
sure.
enjoying it. But it's definitely one of those movies where like you fall asleep and if you wake up you can kind of there are, you can pick up where you left off or you can just
Hmm.
like continue the movie as it is or it might be over. I'm not sure where you fall asleep, but it's like it's definitely one of those movies that you're not gonna feel super bad about like, oh, I fell asleep in that, I've missed so much. It's not like one of the 3 hour epics that you've
Hmm.
just missed like all these scenes kind of thing.
Yeah, you wake up during the intermission of Ben Hur or whatever, and you're like, "Oh
Oh God.
no, I have to go back."
Oh
Oh
no,
no.
I fell asleep in Lawrence of Arabia. Oh
Yeah, can
God.
I tell you, I couldn't remember Lawrence Arabia, so thank you for picking up what I was putting down. Um,
I've not seen Lawrence of Arabia. Everyone tells me it's great, but I don't have a spare 4 hours.
that's fair. I will say this: there is an intermission, nice clean cut. I watched it for the first time recently.
Okay.
When you have the spare 4 hours, it's really good. And
Okay.
what's weird,
I know. Yeah.
the weirdest part is you do see Obi-Wan Kenobi in brown face though, consistently throughout the film.
Oh no.
Very odd
Oh
to see
no.
Sir Alec Guinness.
Jesus. Sir Elegant. Oh no.
Yeah, Sir Alec Guinness going, I am from Arabia. And you're like,
Oh
okay, sure,
God.
Al. Yeah, good on you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh
Thank you.
boy.
Oh
Yes,
God.
Mio. But yeah, do you have a movie that people would find surprising that you'd fall asleep to? Like
I
something
find
that
surprising that
because like I'll fall asleep
surprising that I
sometimes to
felt.
like Star Wars, and that's quite loud. And so people are like, how do you fall asleep to that?
Oh, I actually I once was I was really jet lagged, and we went to see actually no one will be surprised at this. All the Star Wars fans will rejoice that I fell asleep because I was jet lagged in the Last Jedi. I fell asleep in that one, and
Oh.
like, and I remember just I remember I was like I didn't miss anything.
It's fair.
I fell asleep in that one. I think as a kid I once fell asleep in Pirates of the Caribbean, which was kind of
That's surprising.
that's a movie that you don't fall asleep to. I was like, but I often
That takes
I'm
some
just wondering. I
concentration to fall
used to
asleep to that.
yeah. I think I've fallen asleep to quite a few movies, but that'll be the only reason I fall asleep to movies is because if I'm like super tired or jet lagged or like I've had
Mm-mm.
I used to come home from high school like when I was in high school or like university and I'd put a movie on and I'd
Mm-mm.
just like kind of like nod off. But
Mm-hmm.
like I've never just I don't think a movie's ever put me to sleep.
Oh,
I don't think I've
okay.
ever been that bored. Like I've had movies I've wanted to walk out of, but not movies that have like put me to sleep properly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I'll reject this. I think if there's one to pay attention to, it is Last Jedi, and I don't want to get into a fight on this sleep podcast because it is we're meant to try and keep a nice relaxed atmosphere because people might be dozing off
Uh,
themselves now, but
yeah.
I'll take it. Come at me on Twitter. Find me. I don't care. It's been what 20 years since that movie came out and we're still fighting about it. That sounds like sounds like someone made a
God damn
distinct
it.
piece of media if we're still discussing it. But
Yeah, clearly there must be pros.
but I do really like Sing Street. I love the performance of the lead gal. She's in you said she was in Bohemian Rhapsody.
She's in
Okay, she's quite good. She's very charming, and you do
mm,
get the I think there's this beautiful underlying um kind of thematic element that's obviously these kids are using the music as an escape from, issues within their own lives. But I love that the performances and the characterizations within the confines of the script are also so grounded that you don't really get a lot of like really emotional scenes. And it's, I think, very typically Irish and also just
Yeah, yeah,
more, it's more believable as well to be like,
yeah,
yeah, well, my mom's in a mental institution. What can you do? Because like for her, it's normal. It's not a
yeah.
huge thing. And I think that she plays that really well. And I think the fact that all the characters kind of, you feel like they have something else going on.
I do absolutely. I love it when movies do that because it is realistic that like certain characters will react to certain things in a way that might be different to we're like how we see it,
Mm,
sort of vibe. So because like I really hate it's like the major. I'm glad it's being made fun of on TikTok now, but it's the film pages that are like the greatest acting performances of all time, and it's just white men shouting,
yeah, bro.
and it's like I get Daniel Day-Lewis is a fantastic actor, but the probably his best acting in There Will Be Blood is not the "I've abandoned my child" scene. It's like I get it. He
I
is
have a
shouting,
competition in
but
me. Yeah.
yes, like I get it. He's shouting, but that whole movie, he's amazing. Not just that
Yeah.
one weird scene, but
That
with
one weird scene where he lets Paul down and he's slapping him in the face for whatever reason.
that's such a good.
It
I
is
love that
good.
one. I love it as well. But with Sanctuary, and it's common for like I think it's common for a lot of like indie movies and
Mm-hmm.
like especially like yeah British and Irish I'd say especially where
Yeah.
they have very grounded characters and like the kids going like the main kids going his parents are going through a very bad divorce and they like lose the house like the mum's like has basically cheated on the dad and like there's no scene where the main kid like loses it and he goes oh my
Mm-hmm.
god what have you done to me and like that's because that's real he's dealing with it in his own way he's getting out of the house and he's playing
Mm-hmm.
music and he's having an escape and it's also an escape for us so yeah I do the performances in this movie a testament to like I think the writer and the director as well, just making it
Mm-hmm.
so it's like it's it is a drama movie. It's very comedic, as most British drama like movies are, but like it's not like a they don't have like the depressing like oh the angry scenes. Like it's realistic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is
Not
because
everything has to be shouty.
not everything needs to be shouting. And I also think it's like it is particularly like British and European sensibility to I mean Americans love to shout, let's be honest. We're quite loud. We like to make a fuss.
There's some greats. There are some great shouty scenes, don't get me wrong.
Hmm.
There are some very powerful shouty scenes,
Yeah,
but
when
it's just
Pacino
there
says
are
she's got
some
a great ass and he shouts
oh
that
that
great ass.
that
Yeah.
that movie, that whole movie. But like the best scene in that movie is De Niro and Pacino talking calmly to one another. So you
Yep.
gotta have the
Yeah,
balance of it all.
you really do. And I would say that if his the closest they get to that is when all three of the kids lock themselves and smoke weed with the older brother and like just listen to music.
Mm,
And that's more realistic. Like if you don't want to hear your parents shouting, you don't go over and like mom and dad, you have to stop shouting or like what's going
yeah.
on. It's like we don't want to fucking deal with this. We know what's going on.
Yes. And
Let's just
that's a beautiful realistic like scene because yeah
mhm.
it's not like realistic there's all because there are like these TV shows and movies where they'll be fighting and then the kid will come downstairs and be like why are you doing this and it's like
Mhm.
no you escape you turn your music louder you do something when your parents
Mhm.
are fighting like this is what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's also like I think the way the ocean is always portrayed in this film is really beautiful of like it's like a longing. Obviously they end up trying to cross the channel or whatever it is. And it is just like it's is it the opening scene where he's no, it's after she leaves town and he's playing guitar by himself next to the ocean. And like as a
Yeah,
kid who played guitar growing up, I was like, yeah, that's it. That's the real
yeah,
stuff. Yeah. That's
that's the
exactly what
one.
you would do. Um his
I must escape this land.
yeah, I love his specky friend who writes all the lyrics and like or
Yeah,
does the orchestration for it. He's such a fun character. They're all so fun. The little
is this
weird
they just
ginger
have all
kid.
have these yeah, they all have these little quirks about them because like they all can't be the focus of the movie, but they have these little
Mm-mm-mm.
quirks that make you love and remember them. How like the main kid just loves rabbits so much, the
Yeah.
guy with the glasses, and then yeah, there's the ginger kid who's just like, I don't want to be part of your band, I want to be the manager.
It's like a business
And
card.
then
It's
there's
so good.
yeah, and then there's the when they go and try and recruit the one black kid in their neighborhood,
Yeah.
and then they come up and the mum's just like, and it's just like, does he live here? It's like, no, he lives up there, and they're like, oh, okay. He's like, what? And then the mum's just like, what do you think? Like, and it's just, but and
It's so good.
they're also just so like and funny. And I think one of my favorite like little bits like jokes in the movie is when they're like practicing and they are being loud and they don't sound that great, and the mum is just in her room and she kicks the door shut just so she can have some time to herself with a vibrator.
It's very good. It's
And it's
excellent.
just so it's just a great joke. She's just like, okay, they're distracted. Boom, this is my time.
They're distracted and they're certainly not gonna hear me. Just
Yeah. So we're good.
primo.
And
Oh,
I'm just
that's
like,
very
yeah,
good.
that's a great joke.
Yeah, I think what's also I was thinking about this while watching it is like any other movie would be focusing on the marriage falling apart, right? The mom and the dad would
Mm.
be the focus. And you got, the guy that plays Littlefinger from Game of Thrones as the dad or what have you. And like,
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. He
so you
popped up.
got
I was like, hey.
yeah, got a couple proper actors. They're doing a really fine job. And I was just like any other movie, it'd be like panning over and you'd be seeing them. But I really love that it's from the kid's perspective the whole time. Um,
Because I think yeah, because well, that's the thing. It would like in any other movie, it would affect his music. He would be wanting to write
mm,
songs about his parents, stuff like that. And I think there's one song where he brings it up, where
mm,
it's like, oh, just like I can't remember what song it is. Like near the end, where it just like leave. But then he's not. The music is his escape. So he's definitely like he writes the songs about the girl. He writes a song about the priest who beat him. So like
mhm.
that's the other thing. But like it's just very
Yeah,
yeah.
and
I appreciate this.
yeah, that scene was pretty like I forgot that scene was in there.
Mm,
And he like waterboards this kid for wearing makeup essentially, and it was
yeah,
really grim. But there is a moment where he makes a calculation. Our lead, what is his name? Connor? I don't remember.
I
The
think
main boy.
yeah.
Um, because the
Connor,
pre
yes, Connor.
because the priest goes, "Oh, you can use my bathroom through here," and you can see in his eyes I don't want to be alone with the bathroom with a priest. So I'm gonna at least if this is happening, it's gonna be happening in the stall outside. And that's something I didn't catch the first time. And I was like, oh wow, that's set up so nicely by the brother making jokes about the school he's going to. And so when that happens, it does feel like an actual threat.
Yeah.
But a very subtle one. The whole film is it's a very subtle picture because it has all as you're saying, all this pastiche of like what's a fun kind of rom-com with kids making a band and stuff, but there's like a lot of tone stuff there at the very least. It's very
Mm,
lovely. I want to say one of my favorite moments is when he goes to the gal's house and um someone else answers the door and she's like, yeah, no, she didn't leave a note for you, sorry. And then he goes, okay, thanks, sorry, bye. And as he's leaving, she goes, your music's good though. And he's like, what? Yeah, thanks, I guess. And it's just such a like, it's such a nice little moment because that
yeah.
is absolutely what a person who didn't who wouldn't know what to tell this kid would say. It's so good. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's a lovely little moment.
Yeah, no, I like, yeah. But one of my favorite moments in the movie, it's just hilarious, but it's just that little moment. And it's like in a lot of movies where it's the older boyfriend of the main girl like picks her up in his car and he's playing Genesis
Mm-hmm.
and he like stalls the car. So he like picks her up. He's like got a car. He's a lot older and he's cool and he's listening to Genesis. And then he stalls the car. So he like, and you're just like, oh shit, okay, this guy sucks. And then he talks to his brother, and his brother's a music expert. It's like anyone who listens to Genesis is not a threat. And I was like, that's such a good like way to spin it. Because like this guy's like, oh, she's got a boyfriend. It's like, nah, don't worry about it.
Yeah, it'll be okay, bro. Would you want a sequel to this movie?
No,
No.
no, definitely no. I've with a lot of movies, especially indie movies, I feel like they have such great endings
Mm-hmm.
that I don't want a sequel. I'll just watch it again. Like there are some movies that like I want you'll want a sequel for,
Mm-hmm.
but
Like
to bring up
Sing 2, Tour,
yeah, sing too
Sing
strict.
3. Yeah.
But
This time it is
the
animated.
director of this,
Sorry, go ahead.
yuck. Oh no. The director of this movie, he did two movies before this that were really good and
Oh yeah.
they have just like not the same ending, but they have similar endings where it's just like it's perfect way to end it. No sequel needed. I don't really need to know what like happens, like sort of thing. It's just like a perfect way to end it. So I would, yeah, I don't know how a sequel would work. Also,
Mm,
just yeah, would want one. I'm not a yes sequels if they're good,
mhm.
great. But if they're bad, they're which they are a lot of the time.
That is true. A lot of the time they do feel like a cash grab, as they say.
The legacy, yes, just especially with comedy movies, the
mm,
legacy sequels. I think they're calling them now. I just oh, not fun, not a good time.
no, what's interesting about that is like I was thinking about the last Ghostbusters that came out, not the Lady Ghostbusters. That was fine. Like everyone made a fuss about it. It was fine. It was just a bad comedy,
I
whatever.
I didn't hate it. I didn't hate
Yeah.
it. It
It
was
was
fine.
it made
They were funny moments.
yeah, it made me laugh and it made me laugh as much as Ghostbusters 2 is the thing. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, yeah. It's
But this
it's let's be real. This is not the worst Ghostbusters sequel.
precisely. But this new one, I didn't even see it, but with like Paul Rudd, and it felt like Stranger Things, and like it felt like an action
that
movie.
that movie was okay. It was good. I went to the movies to see that. I was like,
Oh yeah.
okay, I've got a spare. I think I was someone asked me like, do you want to go see the new Ghostbusters? And I was like, okay, yeah. Let's go see the new Ghostbusters because I'm a Ghostbusters fan. And the thing is like it is a movie that didn't need to be made, but
Hmm.
it's done with a lot of care and love that it's great.
Hmm.
Like it was really fun and it was like, yeah, it felt very Stranger Things this, but it had a decent story. It had like a cool like a thing about it. And the ending did like make me shed a tear because it was a homage to
Harold
oh god,
Ramis.
Hal Ramis. It was a big homage to him, and I was like,
Hmm.
okay, you got me. Like
Hmm.
that was it.
That absolutely makes sense. That absolutely makes sense. It's just mostly like for me, what took me by surprise, I don't good or bad or anything, just the tonal shift was what was so surprising because it felt like an action movie from the trailer.
Mm,
Whereas like that first movie is like a goofy comedy about like what if ghosts took Manhattan, So it just like it's when you're talking about like legacy sequels, I think it's really interesting because you do get like that kind of far from the source material because it's just in the atmosphere, if that makes sense. Which is
mm.
it can be quite good, but then sometimes you're like, what is happening here? But
The one. So I've had like I had faith with certain legacy sequels. I was like, it's going to be funny. It'll be
mhm.
fine. The one that broke me was Coming to America 2.
Oh really?
Uh, so I love Coming to America, the first one, the original. I think it's one of the best
Mhm.
comedies ever made. I think it's hilarious. It's another movie that I would call super rewatchable. But the second one just it just felt it was just a cash. It was just Amazon
Mm.
cash grabbing. There was like nothing like they weren't they could have done things differently, but it just didn't
Mhm.
feel like they wanted to really be there.
Yeah, sure. I can understand that. I will say Coming to America is one of my favorite films as well. And it's a perfect comedy
So good,
film. It's like so good. It's a fairy
so funny.
tale. It's great. The second one,
It's
much
so
like
funny.
the second one kind of felt like, you remember the straight to video Disney sequels you would get in the 90s?
Yes,
It felt like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
It was like, okay, well, it's his
yeah.
daughter this time. With that being said, my expectations were on the ground. So I quite enjoyed myself because I was like, oh, this
Okay.
wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. But also,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
always
yeah.
rooting for Eddie Murphy to come back because I miss him,
Oh, so do I. I love Eddie. I've loved Eddie Murphy since I was a kid. Like,
you know?
and it's just because I think every single stand-up comedian in the world is just wanting him to take stage one more time, but he just won't do it. But like, he's in,
He,
yeah, and he's. I want Eddie Murphy back.
I want him back to two things. One, he was planning a tour in 2019. Did you know this? For an hour, a new stand-up
Yeah,
special. And then
I
obviously
heard about this.
coronavirus happened. And then so he's still working on it. We'll see if we get anything. But he's in this great movie called oh gosh, it's about Rudy Ray Moore. What is it called? It's called Dolomite is My Name. If you haven't seen it,
Dolomite is my name. Yes, yes, yeah, great movie,
phenomenal
great movie.
film. And specifically if you're like any kind of artist or comedian, there's this great scene where he's like, I'm gonna bet on me. And that changed my whole outlook for the last 2 years or whatever. And it's, led to a lot of great things, including meeting you in New Zealand. So there you go.
Yeah,
Listen
good.
to Eddie
Yeah.
Murphy,
Well,
and
it
you
was
will, you know.
yes. Well, that's I think Eddie Murphy was like one of my like OG inspirations as well because I think it was the funniest thing was it was when well, another favorite movie of mine. I don't think people like Daddy Daycare with Eddie Murphy. I
Okay,
loved
sure,
that
yeah.
movie as a kid. My dad took me to see Daddy Daycare as a kid, and I was like, I love that movie. I love that guy. That guy Eddie Murphy. He's very funny. And then my dad was like, "Oh, you think Eddie Murphy's funny? Okay, I'll show you something." And then I think I was 6 or 7 years old, and my dad showed me Delirious. Like I was his only son. He had three other daughters that I don't think really got along with his hobbies. So he just showed me one of the most, the, to be fair, one of the greatest hours of stand up ever. But also he says some absolutely heinous shit in that, and he was just like, and then he said after it finished, he was like, okay, there are certain words that you are never allowed to say ever at school, and I think I accidentally said like because of I said like big bitch or something at school because of his auntie that he would talk about, and
Yeah,
I got like
yeah,
sent to
yeah,
the
yeah.
principal's office. But
Oh,
I
that's
love
so
yeah,
good.
well, because like whenever I see Eddie Murphy like something Eddie Murphy is doing or something, I always root for him because there was a rumor and there's been nothing since, but Amazon have the rights to the Pink Panther. And the rumor was they
Mm,
wanted Eddie Murphy to do Jacques Rousseau, and I was like,
that
that
would be very fun.
could be so interesting, or
Oh
it could
yeah.
be the worst thing I've ever seen.
Oh, I would definitely go and see that. I'd be
I,
rooting for
I'd,
it to be
I'd,
good.
I'd, I'd be
I'd pay
so
money.
intrigued. I'd be like, come
Yeah.
on, I'd do it. I'd do that for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I just love, I think it might be Raw, not Delirious, where he goes like, "Oh, I was so bad at stand up when I was first starting out. I was doing Richard Pryor but about talking about
Yes,
because I had no world experience, so I was like, oh, I was just talking about shit." And then
yeah,
he goes, and it was a terrible bit. It went something like this, and then he kills with the bit that he has just told us it's terrible, and I'm like,
yes.
beautiful, beautiful.
He's so good. And that was yeah, I love yeah. What's it? Delirious and Raw, like two
Mhm.
just top of their game stand up specials. That
Yeah, and also to his credit, he was like, "Yeah, no, I was young and I was mouthing off, and I shouldn't have been throwing around the F slur that much, and I apologize." And
yeah,
good for him for doing
he
that.
he did that before. Like he did that in the '90s. Like he came out, and he
Hmm.
was like, "This is it. Yeah, what I did was actually bad."
Yeah,
He came out. He didn't need anyone to like dig up shit. He was just like, "No, this was bad. I'm sorry." I was
yeah.
like, "Yeah, all right,
Good on him.
good on
Good
you."
on him. Yeah. Um, what else about Sing Street would you want to talk about before we wrap up here, if you have anything else?
Things right. I think every person, if you, I remember when you'll know all about this. 2016, of course,
Hmm.
November 2016, when Mr. Trump was elected.
Hmm.
Uh,
I think I remember something.
yeah, yeah. So something it was a big thing that is. But
Big
I
deal.
remember I remember it happened, and so many people,
Yeah.
especially for some reason, people in New Zealand were like, "This is the worst thing ever," and I'm just like, "Come on,
You know,
we're like, he's not a good person, but we are not going to be that affected by it. We're in New Zealand. He's not going to come visit." But I was like, everyone was like
great
feeling really down,
country.
and I said, "Watch, yeah, it's tough, tough stuff."
Big
I
fan.
can't do
Love
it.
the sheep. Love a sheep. I do. It's a terrible impression.
Shane Gillis stuff.
I can only go crooked
But
Hillary, and that's it. That's all I got. But anyway, sorry, you were
such a
saying.
such a nasty. But the
I know I'm so
the
sorry, but yours sounded like
such a
Adam Sandler.
such a oh no, I can't do it.
Adam
I have to
Sandler,
get
such
away
a
from that.
nasty woman.
Yeah,
Oh.
oh no. Oh no.
Anyway, you were
Um
saying. I'm
oh, I
so
gotta get
sorry.
away from
Completely
getting away
derailed here.
but so many people, a lot of my friends, and were just like, I'm so sad this happened. Trump has been elected. This is the worst thing ever. And I said, okay, if you're feeling really down, go watch Sing Street, this movie. And
Mm,
it's just, it's very like, if anyone ever asks me, what's your favorite feel good movie? It's like,
mm,
it's definitely, this is the first thing that popped in my head. Or Cool Runnings. Like, that's
mhm.
another incredible
Excellent.
movie. But this movie here, it's just so like there's dramatic elements to it, and it's like it's not a comedy, so that's what makes it like I think more approachable for a lot of people. It's just like watch this movie, boy meets girl, girl unimpressed, boy starts a band, soundtrack's amazing, acting's on point. It's just like a really nice movie that you'll feel better for watching.
Hmm. I agree.
That's the best thing that I can tell people. It's just like you. This is very good.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. You definitely leave wherever you watched it feeling a couple of pounds lighter and a little easier.
Yeah, yeah. It's just
Um,
especially nowadays, it's a good thing to watch if you're feeling good shit.
yes, absolutely. Is there anything that you want people who have listened all the way to this point to know about you and what you're up to? Beautiful Aotearoa, New Zealand.
Oh, what am I to Aotearoa? If you are in the beautiful New Zealand or planning to come to New Zealand, even if you're America, I emceed a show recently, and there were two girls from Miami, Florida, who came to visit,
Mm,
and I was like, "How long are you here for?" And they were there for 2 days, and they decided to come to open mic, and I was like, "Okay, all right,
fascinating
welcome."
priorities.
And I was like, I'm gonna try
That's
make
so good.
like I was just like, who's like I didn't ask them, I was trying to decipher who their favorite comedian was, and I was like, do I have to be as good as John Mulaney? Like, what am I doing? Uh
I think
but
also, may I
if
say, it's such a clear indication of like different cultural backgrounds because I was like, what the fuck's wrong with you? And you're like, oh, I gotta do such a good job, you know. When
oh yeah.
confronted with that, I was like, get out of
This
here.
is
Go.
that's a difference for those of you who don't know in New Zealand. Like even at open mics, you need to do a good job for the audience. It's all
Mhm.
about the audience enjoying the show and not your personal journey.
Which can I tell you is a better way to do it. I've done a bunch of open mics. I did heaps of open mics in New Zealand when I was down there, and it's the best, specifically open mic scene I've ever seen in my life. It's beautiful.
It's good. It's very fun. The community is great. But if you are in New Zealand, if you're in Wellington, I am definitely in 2024 going to try and get all around Wellington and hopefully other places if my bank account does not suffocate me. So I'm at shows most of the week around Wellington. But yeah, just come through, come support live comedy because at this point right now, it's in November 2023, the comedians are being like, "Thank you for supporting live comedy," but in a few months' time, I guarantee there will be people being like, "For the love of God, support live comedy."
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. But
Yeah,
I want to thank you very much for coming on and talking about one of my favorite movies and one of yours. And
yeah,
it's great to
yeah,
see you again.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, you do. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I was always happy to discuss movies.